All right, and welcome back. This is Raul. Welcome to another portion of the Doepfer A101-2 low-pass gate demonstration. If you joined us on the last two previous demos, you saw the functions of this module as a low-pass filter here, and then as a VCA in the previous one to this. But this time around, we're going to look at a special mode that this module has when the switch is in the middle. That's called a combined mode, where it acts as both a low-pass filter and a VCA. You may be wondering, as some of you are, or you may be already knowing what I'm about to tell you, a little piece of trivia here. The term low-pass gate was actually coined by someone named Doepfer in his synthesizer system in a module called the 292, in case you're interested in that. And in the manual, it actually goes into a little bit more description about it. It says that this module was inspired by that particular module. And one of the main characteristics that we're going to be hearing here is something that happens when you decrease the loudness of the signal. And what happens is, as the loudness decreases, the sound becomes more dull. So we'll hear that here shortly in a little bit, but that's something that was pioneered, so to speak, by Doepfer, in case you're interested in that. One other thing to note before we go into this, because I know it may be slightly different than what we looked at before, is that this dial is also going to be changing its function as well. You'll remember, if you watched the previous demo on the VCA mode, that this worked as an overall loudness control when it's in VCA mode. And if you saw the low-pass demo, then you would have noticed or heard that this acts as just what it's labeled, the resonance of our filter. But in combined mode, this actually does something a little bit different. It's going to affect the loudness and the resonance of the signal going into the low-pass gate. So, enough with the talking, let's go into the demoing. We're going to start out with a dry signal. So I'm going to take a saw wave, and I'm going to hear it dry, so I want to patch it into my mixer. Here we go. So there is our saw wave. That's what we're going to be working with this time around. And I just want you to get that into your ears. Okay, so that's our saw wave. I'm going to unpatch it. There we go. And now I'm going to patch it into our low-pass gate. Make sure it's in combined mode. That's filter mode, and that's combined mode. Cool. Now we're going into the audio in here. And then I'm going to go out from our low-pass gate into our mixer, and we should hear sound. Here we go. You can hear that it sounds slightly muffled. And our resonance setting is fairly high. Of course, this is affecting both resonance and frequency. So let me bring this up, and you should hear a little bit more of the sound. So it sounds closer to our saw wave right about there, but it still sounds a little bit muffled or duller. And then as I bring this down, hear more resonance all the way over here, less resonance all the way over here. Now, if you are curious, it says in the manual as well, if this dial here is all the way in the counterclockwise position, it essentially is functioning very, very similarly to the 292 pioneered by Doepfer, in case you're curious about that. Once you start going into any of the settings over here on this side, those are features that were not available in the 292. So in case you're curious, but that's our basic sound right there, going into our low-pass gate. And I can, bring this dial down, and our sound becomes more dull. And at the very bottom, it's so dull you can't even hear it. There you go. So you can hear it kind of there. It's very bright, and then it gets very dull towards the bottom. But wouldn't it be much better if I didn't have to sit here and you didn't have to watch me move my finger on the dial? It'd be great if we could take a control voltage and patch it into that and have it dynamically change it. So let's do that. We're going to take a sine wave and we're going to go into control voltage into. There we go. So there you should be able to hear it getting duller as the sound goes down in level. And then if I speed up the frequency, it'll start happening a little bit faster. But still, the idea is that it's getting duller as the loudness is decreasing. So just so we can note the difference of this mode with the other mode, let's flip into VCA mode real quick. So that's in VCA mode, same sound. And then we're going to flip back into combined mode. You can hear that there's a difference there in the sound, right? Now you can essentially choose which mode you enjoy the most, and you can also, adjust this dial to get the sound that you want. Or you can bring up the resonance here if you want to. And that sound is definitely different than what you heard in VCA mode, so let's flip over to that just to verify it. So no resonance going on there whatsoever. This is just adjusting the overall loudness of the sound in VCA mode. Then we're going to flip over to combined mode. You can hear a little bit of that squelchy sound coming in. That's our combined mode, or our resonance coming in. And of course, since we're in combined mode, this is going to also, if we go all the way back here, we are sort of essentially emulating the functions of the Buchla low-pass gate. Although it's still a little bit different because the electronics are different, the cabling is different. Okay. So that's the basic low-pass gate sound in combined mode. And we saw what it does when you go in with a little resonance too, just to vary it up a little bit. So, throughout this demo we've actually just tested it out with a sine wave, but let's try a triangle wave, just for grins. I can bring my frequency down a little bit. So, slightly different sound. It's our triangle wave. Let's unpatch the triangle wave. And back just our regular saw wave. Quite the effect I wanted to achieve because it seems as though it's still feeding all the way through, but if I bring this down a little bit, I should get a more pronounced opening and closing of the gate. Of course, I can bring up the frequency. And at this point, I'm able to go in and start, adjusting my resonance if I want to. Bring this up if I want to, although I kind of like the pronounced kind of effect I'm getting over here in the lower end. Or I can even now go back to my original sound source and change the octave. Until I find a sound that I'm kind of happy with. Okay, so that is our basic demonstration of the combined mode of the Doepfer A101-2 low-pass gate. We saw a little bit about the comparison between the VCA mode and this mode, and we can look at it one more time here before we go. That's VCA. So kind of no change to the color of the sound whatsoever. Pretty much just getting our straight saw wave. Flip over into combined mode, we are getting that little kind of squelch at the bottom of our sound, and as our loudness is decreasing, our sound is becoming more dull as well. That can be further more pronounced if we adjust the frequency down a little bit. That way it just happens a little bit longer. You can see it kind of fading out. So lots of possibilities and 3 different functions that you can use this module for. One thing we didn't talk about was these 2 ports here. I couldn't find an effective demo for these 2 ports, at least one that was very exciting. But I will explain what these 2 ports are in case you want to experiment. I'll leave them to you out there to test them out. But essentially what they do is they allow you to access the different functions of this module via gates that you send into the module. So you can send a signal into here and have it switch into the various modes here. And this little grid here actually outlines what type of gate you would need to send into there to have it trigger whatever mode you want. And it's a little kind of matrix here that allows you to go through the various modes. But for the purposes of our demo, I just wanted to kind of focus on the basic functions without getting too much into switching it. And switching it with the hand manually is for the most part sufficient. Then we went back a little bit further into our low pass mode, where we definitely hear some resonance. So I can bring my resonance down. And you know now that this is definitely a different sound than what we had here. So no resonance whatsoever over here. A little bit of resonance here. A whole lot of resonance over here. So I hope that you found this demo useful. Hope it opened your eyes a little bit to the other features and the other modes of the low-pass gate. I'm going to go back to combine mode. Just to give you a little heads up into what's coming next, since this is kind of the more, I don't want to say non-traditional, but non-traditional VCA, we're going to take a look at a regular VCA and see how we can use that to affect our sound and maybe come up with some creative ways of getting sounds to change using one of these. And maybe we'll even bring back our friend the A101-2 as a VCA, so that we'll have two VCAs going at the same time. So stay tuned for that. And again, that's coming up. We're going to be looking at the A131 VCA in combination with the A101-2 low-pass gate. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned.